Hi guys, welcome back to You Seem Normal. Today I have a story time video. I've waited a long time to film this video, although I've had a blog post about it for like 2 years up on my blog. I will link that down below. The warning here is I will show some graphic photos. And graphic meaning it's of a rash, and so to me that's so... because it was hit so close to home, that's very uncomfortable for me. It may not be for you, but I'm just letting you know that I will be including photos. And I'm going to attempt at explaining this experience of the lamictal rash. It is intensely entertaining and very horrid. It was a horrid experience. One of the worst ever. Especially in my psychiatric history. And so, alright, we'll get started right now. When I was hospitalized, they put me on a new cocktail of drugs. That's its own video. The fact that they do that and then have no monitoring. I was put on sertraline, which is Zoloft, which is a very popular antidepressant. I have no problem being on sertraline. I had no problem saying I will take that. It's an SSRI. Much like other really popular antidepressant medications. Lamotrigine, on the other hand, brand name lamictal, I was also put on. Lamictal is a mood stabilizer. It's commonly used in bipolar disorder and for people who have severe mood swings, which was kind of seeming like perhaps that was a problem for me at the time. And so the doctor there, and again, I don't know this guy very well because I had just met him and he was my doctor for 72 hours. He said, you know, this is going to be the combination we're going to put you on. And just so you know, with lamictal, sometimes there's a rash. So I said, okay, I'll pay close attention. And he's like, yeah, just check, you know, spots on your body and places you wouldn't think of to, look for that rash in the next, you know, couple days. Things were okay on these two. I talked about these, I think, in my meds journey post, but things were okay on these two drugs. First of all, I think I was incredibly traumatized after being in the hospital, so I was acting on my very best behavior. I had an internship and I went to work like this all the time. This was my reaction to everything and I fucking loved it. I loved that that was my reaction, but there was absolutely no ups or downs, and you can't live like that either. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but I thought I was doing fantastic. The first couple days, and I was like just looking around on my body and just like, oh, okay, like no rash, we're good. Okay? Cool. One day I went to therapy and I was wearing like full long sweatshirt, long pants, and when I got back in the car, I just felt there was like this little wart looking thing. I was like, oh my god, am I getting a wart on my finger? Because I don't like that very much. So I was a little bit annoyed, and then I said, you know, let me just pull up my sleeve a little bit and we'll just like see if there's like any other warts. I don't know why exactly I did that, but as soon as I did that, I realized something was wrong on my arm. And I didn't know what it was. Like, I didn't put it together that it was this rash from this drug. I was just like, what is happening to my skin? I pulled up my shirt and it was all like that all over my chest. I looked at my legs. It was all on my legs. It was everywhere except for my face and like neck, which is what my therapist would have seen me. It's really unrelated that I happened to be at therapy. But it is part of the story. Which is why no one saw that on me. If I had been wearing short sleeves, I would have noticed as soon as like I got into the car. You know, just seeing your skin, your body. My mom said, it's okay. She looked over, she was driving me. She's like, it's okay. It's a rash. And I was like, I don't want a rash. I had legitimately never had a rash in all of my life, ever. Not a single rash. And this one was not head to toe, but like collarbone to toe, because it was not on my face, thank God. I've never had an allergic reaction. I've never had a hive. Actually, technically I've had allergic reaction to a medication, but it was not a rash thing. So I didn't know what the heck was covering my body, what was happening. So now this is where I bring it back to the part where I would like in the first couple days just like check for a little rash. Like thinking it would just be like this big, like on my arm. No, it's like a full body thing. Anyways, I went home and I stripped all the way down and it was everywhere. My whole back, my butt, which I was so offended by. How dare it? The thing was, I didn't feel it. I didn't know it was there, right? I just happened to pull up my sleeve and see it. So it wasn't hot. It didn't feel hot to the touch. It just looked, and I'll show you a picture, like it was splotchy red. Okay, so that was the good news. Also, it wasn't on my hands, which was interesting too. So I will put a picture up on the screen. This is just the beginning of the red dots. That's from day 1. And they weren't bumps. It was just like red circles on my skin. But alarming nonetheless. This is what my back looked like on day 1. So now you start to see that it's kind of super freaky. And day 3 happened. And basically what happened is the spots or whatever began changing and taking up, the red spots became taking up your entire skin. So all of a sudden, it was like most of my skin was red and a little bit of it was white. And then all of a sudden, it was like if you had a full body sunburn. It didn't exactly feel like that, but if you pressed on where that was, it would kind of like that. It would like bounce back like that. And so I have a picture of my stomach and that looks like it's normal, but it's 100% red. There aren't dots anymore. It's just red. So the dots cover the whole thing. So we'll stop with the pictures for a second. But the worst part comes from the story is the dun-dun-dun itching. Okay, there had to be a catch. Because what's the big deal about having a rash that has no side effects, like symptom kind of things that make anything uncomfortable? Like, what's the big deal with that? I wouldn't be making this video if it just went away. It started itching, and I would not wish this on my worst enemy. Really. I wouldn't. About 3 days in, the entire rash started to itch. Like, badly. I did everything to stop the itching as humanly possible. I bought all of the products. I did all of these like hacks in the bathtub with oatmeal, with baby product, with ice. I did so many things. You can't get relief from itching. There's just no way to do it. I went in, I got a steroid shot in my butt, didn't do anything at all. They put me on oral steroids, did nothing. You can't sleep because your entire body itches. It's absolutely terrible. The best I found though was ice. If you ice it, you don't feel it because it numbs it. And that's the best I have for you. But it's terrible. I would lay in bed and I would cover my whole body in wet washcloths. I looked like a full body cast but made of cold washcloths. My feet were the worst. They just kept itching. I would put them on ice and wrap cold washcloths around them. It was terrible. The last point I want to make is I'm incredibly grateful that this was the version of the rash that I had. There is another version, just to bring your attention to it, called the Stevens-Johnson's syndrome. I think it starts happening, you know, around like your mouth, for example, and your ears, like the openings on your face, for example. And it starts in your membranes. That's what they call it. Starts in your membranes, and like your throat will start to close up and you can die, and people do die from Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which is different than the lamictal rash, which I had. So about 5% of people get the lamictal rash from taking lamictal, and 2% will get Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and that's like, you gotta go in immediately because you could die. So I'm incredibly grateful, actually, that I had this side of the lamictal rash and not the Stevens-Johnson syndrome, because that would have been terrible. But I just wanted to tell this story because if you are in physical discomfort, and a lot of people are, for whatever reason, whether it's acute, whether it's chronic, God, I don't know how you progress in your journey mentally, because for me, I am a generally healthy person with very little physical pain, like no physical pain. But if I was hit physically like that, just imagine what it would be like mentally. How would you get better? I think it made me feel for people who that's the case for them. But when I talk about the lamictal rash as my little party story, that's it. It is absolutely terrible. And if you can help it, and this is a whole other video, if you'd only ever tried, I forget what it's called, one of the SSRIs that's very popular. If you've only ever tried one SSRI before, are you going to start me on lamictal? Or are you maybe going to try something that's more commonly used with less side effects and that's less old? Because lamictal is a very old medication. Anyway, if you take lamictal and it works for you, I'm very happy for you. Still watch your entire body, you know, at the beginning of when you take it. But I'm happy to be here telling this story. Me on the couch with all the washcloths and the ice, like, would be so glad to know that I made it out okay, and, you know, I didn't itch my skin raw. But thank you so much for watching this story time. If you enjoyed the story time, I understand that if you like this video, it's not because you like that I had the lamictal rash, but it's rather you enjoyed the story time video, and I understand that, and therefore do that. And I will see you in my next video. Bye. Don't be normal. Is that good? Is that a good ending? Don't be normal.